Chapter 30. In His Image and Likeness. You will not find a single system of child raising that will suit everyone, Vladimir, if only because each one must first respond to the question of exactly what kind of individual they want to raise their child to be. What do you mean, what kind? Man, of course, a happy, intelligent man. If so, then the parents themselves must become that kind of man. And if they themselves have not been able to achieve happiness, then they should know what has prevented them from doing so. I very much want to speak about happy children. Raising them, Vladimir, means also raising yourself. The project we have been outlining all together will help in this. You and everyone else know the way children are born these days. People do not pay enough attention to their whole experience leading up to the birth, and many children are deprived of the planes of being inherent only in man. And so children are inevitably born cripples. Cripples? You mean without arms or legs, or polio victims? A man may be born crippled not only in outward appearance. Sometimes the body may appear externally quite healthy. But man has a second self. And each man should have a full set of all forms of energy, intellect, feelings, thought, and much else besides. But more than half of all children, even by today's very low standards, are deemed by your medical professionals to be deficient. If you want proof of this, take a look at how many schools there are today for the mentally retarded. That is how your medical professions classify them, only they are comparing their abilities with those of children considered relatively normal. But if the doctors saw what the mind and the inner complexes of the human energy could be in the ideal, only a few rare individuals among all the children born on the earth would be considered normal. But why are all children not completely perfect, as you say? The technocratic world aims to prevent the three most important points in newly born children from merging into one. Technocracy tries to break man's links with the divine mind, and the links are broken before the child is born. And in looking for this connection, man goes searching the world and suffering, and does not find it. What most important points are you talking about? What's this about links with the mind? I don't get any of it. Vladimir, in a great many aspects, man is formed even before his entrance into the world, and his upbringing should come into contact with all of creation. What God has used in creating his splendid creations should not be neglected by his Son. Parents should impart to their co-creation the three most important points, the three primary planes of being. Here's the first point of man's birth. It is called parental thought. Both the Bible and the Quran talk about it. In the beginning was the Word. John 1:1, Authorized King James Bible. Though it could be put more precisely, in the beginning was the thought. Let anyone calling themselves a parent today remember when they conceived their child in thought, and what kind of child they thought of him as. What kind of life did they foresee for him? What kind of world did they prepare for their creation? I think, Anastasia, that very few would even care to think of anything like that before the woman actually gets pregnant. In other words, they simply sleep together, sometimes without even being married. And then they get married when the girl gets pregnant, so there's no way of knowing whether she'll get pregnant at all. And there's no sense in thinking about it ahead of time when there's no guarantee that she'll even have a child. Yes, Unfortunately, that is the way it often happens. Most people are conceived in fleshly indulgence. But man, the image and likeness of God, should not come into the world as a result of fleshly indulgence. Now picture a different scenario. He and she build their splendid living home in love for one another and in thoughts about their future co-creation, their child. And they visualize how their son or daughter will be happy in that place, how their offspring will hear its first sounds, its mother's breathing and the singing of the birds, God's creations. Then they will visualize how their child, when he grows up, will want to rest in his parents' garden after a hard day's journey and sit in the shade of a cedar tree. In the shade of a tree planted in love for him by his parents' hands, with thoughts of him in their native land. The planting of the family tree on the part of the future parents will define this first point. And this point, in turn, will call upon the planets to aim them in their future co-creation. It is vital. It is important. And above all else, it belongs to God. It is confirmation that you will be creating in His likeness, in the likeness of Him, the grand Creator. And He will rejoice in the conscious awareness of His son and daughter. Thought is the origin of everything. Please believe me, Vladimir. The currents of all the diverse energies of the universe will unite in that spot where the thoughts of two have merged into one love, where two together are contemplating a splendid creation. The second point, or rather, yet another human plane, will be born and light a new star in the heavens when two bodies merge into one. Merge in love and with thoughts of a splendid creation in the very place where you build your paradise home, your living home for your future child. Then when the wife who has conceived should live in that spot for 9 months. And it is best of all if these months are the blossoming of spring, the sweet fragrance of summer, and the fruits of autumn, where nothing will distract her except her joy and pleasant feelings, where the wife, in whom a co-creation is already dwelling splendidly, is surrounded only by the sounds of divine creations. She lives there and feels with her whole self the whole universe. And the future mother should see the stars and mentally give all the stars and all the planets to her splendid child as a gift, something the mother can do all with the greatest of ease, something completely within her power, and everything will follow the mother's thought without hesitation. And the universe will be a faithful servant to the splendid creation these two people have produced in love. And a third point, a new plane of being should come about in that space. Right there on the spot where the conception occurred, the birth should take place, and the Father should stay close around. And the great, all-loving Father will raise over the three of them a crown. Wow. I don't know why, Anastasia, but I find your words even took my breath away. You know, I was able to visualize the spot you're talking about. How I could visualize it. It made me feel as though I wanted to be born again myself in such a place, so that right this moment I could go and rest in a splendid garden planted by my father and my mother, so that I could sit in the shade of a tree planted for me before my birth, the place where I was conceived and where I was born, where my mother walked in the garden thinking about me before I even came into the world. Such a place would greet you with great joy, Vladimir. If your body should fall ill, it would heal the body. If your soul, it would heal the soul too. And if you were weary, it would give you food and drink. It would embrace you in a gentle sleep and wake you with a joyful dawn. But as with most of the people living on the earth today, you do not have such a spot. You do not have a native land, a motherland, where the planes of being can merge into one. But why does everything we do turn out so lousy? Why do mothers continue to bring semi-retarded children into the world? Who took this spot away from me? Who has taken it away from everyone else? Vladimir, perhaps you yourself can say who failed to create such a place for your daughter, Polina. What? You're not suggesting I'm to blame for my daughter not having a spot?